The Diablos MC thought they'd found an easy target when they cornered Sarah Mitchell at the isolated truck stop. What they didn't know was that Sarah was the daughter of a legendary Green Beret sniper with a very particular set of skills. The moment they tried to block her escape, they made the deadliest mistake of their lives. In seconds, these bikers would learn the true meaning of respect and regret. The Nevada desert highway stretched endlessly under the scorching afternoon. Sun as Sarah Mitchell's 18-wheeler thundered across the empty landscape. To most observers, she was just another truck driver hauling cargo across the American West. They couldn't know that behind her calm blue eyes lay the tactical awareness of someone raised by one of America's deadliest snipers. Sarah spotted the isolated gas station ahead, its faded sign promising the last fuel for 80 miles. Her experienced gaze caught what others would miss: 3 motorcycles parked at odd angles, their riders watching traffic with too much interest. Standard surveillance positioning. "Just like Dad taught me," she muttered, automatically scanning. And for secondary observation points as she pulled her rig to the fuel pumps. The satellite phone buzzed as she stepped down from the cab. "Hey, Daddy," she answered, keeping her voice casual while maintaining visual awareness of her surroundings. "Where are you, chickadee?" Michael Ghost. Mitchell's voice carried the quiet confidence that had made him a legend among Green Beret. "Snipers. Johnson's fill-up on Route 50. Something feels off here." A pause on the line. "Diablos territory. They've been expanding west. What are you seeing?" Sarah described the motorcycle positioning while connecting the fuel line to her truck. Her father had taught her since childhood: observe, analyze, report. Never reveal that you're aware of surveillance. 3 bikes, 5 men. 1 watching the road, 2 at the store, others monitoring approaching vehicles. Military-style positioning, not random. "Good eye, I'm about 30 miles east of you. Maintain normal behavior, fuel up, move on. Don't engage." Sarah smiled. At 28, she didn't need her father's protection, but the bond forged between them after her mother's death had only strengthened during her own army service in logistics. "Got it. Just a routine stop." Inside the store, Sarah noticed a wall map with specific routes highlighted. She memorized them while paying for snacks. The highlighted roads matched known drug distribution routes through 3 counties. A heavy-set trucker approached as she returned to her rig. "Wouldn't linger here if I were you, miss. This place has gotten unfriendly lately." "Appreciate the heads up," Sarah replied, noting the man's nervous glances toward the bikers. The store attendant's conversation drifted through the open door. "Yitai, 4th truck this week. They're saying the Diablos are taxing everything that moves through here now." As Sarah finished refueling, one of the bikers straightened, speaking into a radio. Minutes later, the rumble of approaching motorcycles grew from the east, 7 more riders appearing on the horizon. Her satellite phone vibrated with a text: "Convoy approaching, not friendlies, move now." Sarah climbed into her cab, starting the engine just as the new arrivals pulled into the station. Their leader, a tall man with a scarred face and razor emblazoned on his leather cut, signaled for her to wait. Sarah's mind calculated options. Her father's training automatic after years of drills. Escape routes, 2 likely to be blocked. Main highway offered exposure but speed. Secondary road provided cover but potential ambush points. Through her side mirror, she watched the bikers' positioning. Not random grouping. Tactical formation designed to control all exit points. "Diablos," she whispered, recognizing the colors that had become notorious across 3 states. The motorcycle gang had transformed from rowdy outlaws to sophisticated drug distributors under Razor Thompson's leadership. Her phone buzzed again. "I have overwatch from Ridge. 8 minutes out. Keep rolling no matter what." Sarah knew what that meant. Her father was already moving into position with the precision that had made him a ghost among Green Berets. His sniper skills had saved his entire unit during 3 tours in Afghanistan. Now, those same skills were focused on protecting his daughter. As the bikers approached her truck, Sarah activated the hidden camera system her father had installed beneath her side mirrors. Whatever happened next would be recorded, documented, and analyzed, just as Michael had taught her through years of preparation. The lead biker, Razor, stopped directly in her blind spot. Another tactical choice that told Sarah these weren't ordinary criminals. They had military-style training. What they didn't know was that Sarah Mitchell wasn't just another female truck driver to be intimidated. She was the daughter of the most lethal sniper in Green Beret history, and she'd been trained since childhood to handle exactly this type of situation. Little did the Diablos realize they were about to make the biggest mistake of their lives by threatening the daughter of a man who could hit a target from over a mile away, and who had sworn never to let anything happen to his only child. As Sarah prepared for the confrontation, her father's words echoed in her mind. They always underestimate what they don't understand. That's their first and final mistake. Razor Thompson approached Sarah's truck with practiced confidence, 7 Diablos members fanning out in a containment formation. Their movements betrayed military precision. Not random thugs, but organized professionals. Sarah recognized the pattern from her father's training exercises. "Might want to shut that engine down, sweetheart," Razor called up, his voice carrying a dangerous edge beneath its false friendliness. "Just need a word about traveling through our territory." Sarah kept both hands visible on the steering wheel, a deliberate choice. Show compliance while maintaining escape options. Her eyes tracked the Diablos' positions through her mirrors. "I'm on a schedule," she replied, voice neutral. "What can I help you with?" 2 bikers moved to her blind spots, while another positioned himself by her fuel tanks. Classic control positioning. Sarah activated the emergency transponder in her pocket. 3 clicks. Her father would understand the signal. Razor smiled, revealing a gold tooth. "Pretty little thing, like you shouldn't be driving big rigs." "Dangerous profession. Men out here might get ideas." The Diablos laughed on cue. Sarah maintained her expression, mentally mapping each man's position. The scarred biker with the shotgun was the immediate threat. The one by her trailer was positioning. "For vehicle disable." "Been driving 5 years without issues," Sarah responded, planning to keep it that way. Razor's smile faded. "Thing is, this is Diablo's territory now. Everyone pays a toll, special rate for women who don't know their place." His hand moved to her door, testing the lock. Sarah shifted slightly, accessing the concealed compartment her father had installed. Beneath her seat, her fingers found the reassuring shape of the tactical baton, non-lethal but effective. "What's your cargo?" another biker demanded, moving toward her trailer. "Medical supplies," Sarah lied smoothly. Her actual pharmaceutical shipment was worth millions, exactly what the Diablos would target. Through her mirror, she caught movement on the distant ridge, a brief reflection. Her father was in position. 3 miles out, but within range. For a man who held the record for the 3rd longest confirmed sniper kill in military history, Razor's demeanor changed, his false charm evaporating. "Step out of the truck. Now." "Is there a problem here?" The new voice belonged to a Nevada state trooper who'd pulled in quietly during the confrontation. Sarah recognized the diversionary tactic. Her father had made the call. The trooper wouldn't know he was being used as a temporary deterrent. The Diablos shifted, their formation loosening. Razor's face showed momentary calculation. "Just giving." "The lady directions," he said, stepping back. "Dangerous roads ahead." The trooper approached, hand resting near his weapon. "Everything all right, ma'am?" "Fine, officer," Sarah responded. "Just stopping for fuel." The trooper's gaze lingered on the Diablos' formation. "Might want to continue your journey, then. These gentlemen were just leaving." Sarah noted the trooper's nervousness. He recognized the Diablos, but was outnumbered. She started her engine, watching Razor's cold assessment of the situation. "We'll see you down the road," Razor told Sarah, his tone making it a promise rather than a threat. "Lots of mechanical problems can happen on these lonely stretches." As Sarah pulled away, she caught Razor speaking into his radio, coordinating. "Something with unseen allies. The first confrontation was over, but the real danger was just beginning. 5 miles down the highway, she pulled into a concealed turnout her father had directed her to. Minutes later, Michael Mitchell emerged from the brush, his movements silent despite his 56 years. The weathered lines around his eyes were the only indication of his age. His body remained as lethal as during his Special Forces days. "They're coordinating a roadblock," he said without preamble, setting his rifle case in her cab. Satellite showed 10 more bikes moving in from the south. Professional pattern. Sarah nodded, bringing up her truck's navigation system. "Secondary routes? Compromised. They've got spotters on all major junctions." Michael studied his daughter's face. "They recognized your truck. This isn't random." "The pharmaceutical shipment," Sarah confirmed. "Someone leaked the manifest." Michael's expression hardened. "Those weren't ordinary gang members, Sarah. Razor Thompson was dishonorable discharge from Army Rangers. Several of his lieutenants have similar backgrounds." Sarah remembered her father's dossiers. He kept intelligence on every potential. A threat within 200 miles of his home. The Diablos' transition from chaotic outlaws to organized criminals coincided with Razor's leadership. "They're coming back, aren't they?" Sarah asked, already knowing the answer. Michael checked his specialized tactical watch. 14 minutes until they've established full coverage of your route options. We need to move now." Sarah's satellite phone buzzed with an incoming message. Surveillance photos showing Diablos setting up at 3 different checkpoints ahead. "They're really committed to stopping this truck," Sarah observed. Michael's smile was cold. "They have no idea who they're dealing with. Get ready to drive like I taught you." As Sarah pulled back onto the highway, her father disappeared into the landscape. The Diablos were about to learn the fatal error of threatening the daughter of a Green Beret sniper who'd spent his retirement planning for scenarios exactly like this one. Through her rearview mirror, Sarah spotted the first motorcycles appearing. On the horizon, the real confrontation was about to begin. Sarah drove precisely at the speed limit, maintaining normal trucking patterns while her father's voice came through her secure earpiece. Michael Mitchell had disappeared into the landscape, but his tactical presence remained absolute. 2-vehicle checkpoint at Miller's Pass, he reported from his concealed position. 4 bikes, 1 pickup with mounted spotlight, military style. Deployment. Sarah processed this information while checking her truck's specialized mapping system, another of her father's modifications. "Alternative routes? All compromised," Michael responded. "They've established coverage faster than expected. Professional coordination." Sarah pulled into a truck stop 15 miles from the checkpoint. The lot was nearly empty, unusual for this time of day. Through her mirrors, she spotted a solitary figure approaching. Frank Delaney, the truck stop owner and former Force Recon Marine who owed Michael Mitchell his life after Afghanistan. "Your dad called ahead," Frank said quietly as Sarah fueled. The Diablos have been expanding operations for months, taking over shipping routes, hijacking specific cargo. "What do they typically hit?" Sarah asked, maintaining casual appearance while scanning for surveillance. "Pharmaceuticals, electronics, specialized equipment." Frank wiped her windshield, passing her a folded map. "They've got someone inside the shipping companies. They know exactly which trucks to target." Sarah's suspicions were confirmed. "They were waiting for me specifically." "The Diablos aren't just bikers anymore," Frank continued. "Razor's turned them into something more dangerous. Ex-military guys, mercenaries. They've hit 3 trucks this month. Drivers disappeared." Sarah's satellite phone vibrated with an incoming message, tactical photos from her father showing Diablos reinforcements arriving at strategic points along her route. Michael had positioned himself at elevated vantage points, documenting their deployments with the same precision he once used to track Taliban commanders. "We've got a problem," Michael's voice returned. "They've established checkpoints on all primary and secondary routes. Pattern suggests they've studied your potential alternatives." Sarah unfolded Frank's map, noting the handwritten markings. "What about the old mining road through Carson's Ridge?" "High-risk terrain," Michael assessed, but they're unlikely to have it covered. Too difficult for motorcycle pursuit. Frank nodded. It's barely maintained, but your rig could handle it. Comes out 20 miles past their main checkpoint. Sarah calculated fuel requirements and timing. I'll need escort through the initial approach. Too many blind corners for ambush points. Already coordinated, Michael confirmed. My old spotter Jenkins is positioned at the ridge entrance. 2 more of my former team are establishing counter-surveillance along your route. Sarah realized her father had activated his network, retired Special Forces operators who'd settled in the region. Men who still maintained their skills and equipment and who responded to Michael Mitchell's call without question. What about satellite coverage? Sarah asked, knowing her father never went into an operation without overhead intelligence. Jenkins has a contact at Northern Command. We've got intermittent drone surveillance for the next 4 hours. Sarah studied the map, committing the route to memory as her father had taught her. While other children had learned bike riding, Sarah had learned route memorization and contingency planning, skills that had served her well in the army and now as a specialized transport driver. Frank handed her a satellite radio. Secure Channel 3. Your dad's team is already online. Through her truck's specialized mirrors, Sarah spotted 2 motorcycles passing slowly on the highway, Diablos scouts reporting her position. She had perhaps 20 minutes before their main force arrived. Time to move, she told Frank. If anyone asks, you headed south toward Bakersfield, Frank finished. Already spread the word on the trucker channels. False trail. Sarah's phone displayed new intelligence from her father. Thermal imaging showing Diablos establishing an additional checkpoint to the south. They were committing significant resources to intercept her truck. They really want this shipment, she noted. It's not just about the cargo anymore. Michael's voice came through her earpiece. Razor's taken this personally. He's established a reputation for never failing to take what he targets. Sarah started her engine, reviewing the escape route one final time. ETA to Mining Road? 34 minutes at normal driving speed, Michael calculated. Jenkins will make contact 3 miles before the turnoff. Code phrase, Desert Eagle. As Sarah pulled back onto the highway, Frank's voice stopped her. Your dad saved my life in Kandahar. Whatever you need, the truck stop community is with you. Sarah nodded appreciation, then focused on the road ahead. Her training took over. The same mental preparation her father had drilled into her since childhood. Identify threats, establish routes, coordinate resources, maintain communications. Through her earpiece, she heard her father's team checking in. Call signs from his Special Forces days. Ghost, Reaper, Sandman, Wraith. Men who'd followed Michael. Ghost. Mitchell, through the world's deadliest battlefields, were now positioning to protect his daughter. All elements in position, Michael confirmed. Operation is green. Sarah drove steadily toward the Mining Road turnoff, her father's words from years of training echoing in her mind. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. The Diablos thought they were hunting a routine cargo truck. Instead, they had inadvertently triggered a response from one of the most lethal tactical networks in the western United States. Through her mirrors, Sarah spotted dust clouds rising behind her. The first pursuit vehicles closing in. The real test was about to begin. The mining road twisted through barren hillsides, Sarah's 18-wheeler navigating the narrow turns with precision that betrayed years of specialized training. In her earpiece, her father's voice remained calm, directing her movements with the same measured tone he'd used through her childhood. Maintain 15 mph through the switchbacks, Michael instructed. Jenkins confirms pursuit vehicles have taken the bait. They're following the decoy truck south. Sarah's mind flashed back to age 12, her father teaching her to drive an old pickup across their Montana property. Not normal driving lessons, evasive maneuvers, escape routes, controlled slides on dirt roads. While other girls had piano lessons, Sarah Mitchell learned how to handle vehicles under pressure. Just like the training runs in Montana, she said, a rare smile crossing her face despite the tension. "You remember," Michael's voice carried approval. "You always were a natural." Through the next turn, Sarah's thoughts drifted to her father's background, pieces of his history revealed carefully over years. Michael "Ghost" Mitchell had served in the most elite units of special forces, his sniper skills becoming legendary, even among other Green Berets. 3 tours in Afghanistan, 2 in Iraq, classified operations in countries the military officially never entered. The satellite radio crackled to life. "Ghost! This is Reaper. We've got movement on the ridge. 2 individuals, tactical positioning." "Acknowledged," Michael responded. "Sarah, maintain course. I have eyes on them." Sarah knew what that meant. Her father was now in his element, the precision shooter who could neutralize threats from distances that seemed impossible. She remembered finding his medals as a teenager, hidden in a box after her mother died. Distinguished Service Cross, Silver Stars, commendations signed by generals. "Dad," she said quietly, "this feels like Bozeman." The reference needed no explanation between them. When Sarah was 16, 3 men had followed her home from school. Human traffickers targeting isolated communities. They disappeared after approaching their property. Her father never discussed what happened, but 2 days later, the police found an abandoned vehicle 90 miles away. The case remained unsolved. "Different stakes, same principles," Michael replied. "Protect what matters at all costs." The mining road curved around a bluff, revealing a spectacular vista of the Nevada desert. Sarah checked her mirrors for dust. Clouds, nothing yet. Her father had positioned his team too well for random pursuit. "Thinking about Mum?" Michael asked unexpectedly. Sarah nodded, though her father couldn't see it. After Emily Mitchell's death from cancer when Sarah was 10, Michael had channeled his grief into preparing his daughter for a dangerous world. Every weekend, every vacation became an opportunity for training, shooting, driving, survival skills, tactical awareness. "She'd be proud of you," Michael said, his voice softening briefly. "Not just the skills, the courage." Through her windshield, Sarah spotted a glint on the distant ridge, sunlight reflecting off her father's scope. The knowledge of his protection had been the one constant in her life. "Remember Kandahar?" Sarah asked, referencing the story he'd finally shared after her own army enlistment. Michael's chuckle carried through the earpiece. "Hard to forget. Pinned down for 33 hours, 6 operators against an entire Taliban cell." What he didn't elaborate was what Sarah had learned from his former teammates years later. Michael Mitchell had maintained his shooting position for 27 straight hours. No food, minimal water, eliminating 19 threats with 19 shots. His actions had saved his entire unit, earning him near mythical status among special forces operators. "Diablos have no idea what they're dealing with," Sarah said, navigating another tight turn. "That's always the advantage," Michael replied, back to his tactical voice. "People see what they expect to see. They see a female truck driver, not a woman trained by a Green Beret." The radio interrupted their conversation. "Ghost, Sandman here. Diablos communications intercepted. They've realized the decoy play. Redirecting forces toward your location." "Time frame?" Michael asked. 20 minutes minimum." Sarah processed this information, calculating distances and speeds. "They'll catch us before we clear the mining road. Then we make our stand where we choose," Michael responded, his tone shifting to what Sarah recognized as his mission voice. "There's a plateau 2 miles ahead, natural choke point, limited approach vectors." The radio crackled again. "Ghost, this is Wraith. I'm picking up something else." Radio chatter suggests Razor knows who's driving the truck. Sarah's hands tightened on the wheel. "They know I'm your daughter?" A pause, then her father's voice, colder than she'd heard in years. This just became personal for them. Sarah understood immediately. The Diablos weren't just after her cargo anymore. This was about reputation, about Razor's need to demonstrate power by targeting the daughter of a legend. "Sarah," Michael said, using her name in a way that commanded full attention. There's something you need to know about Razor Thompson. We have history. The revelation clicked into place. He was military, 75th Rangers, served under my command briefly in Afghanistan, dishonorably discharged after selling weapons to local warlords. 8 good men died because of his greed. Sarah processed this new information. So this isn't random. He recognized your name on the shipping manifest. Likely, Michael confirmed. I testified at his court-martial. He swore revenge. The plateau appeared ahead, offering a defensible position with clear lines of sight. As Sarah guided her truck toward the natural fortress, she understood the full stakes. This wasn't just about protecting valuable cargo. This was the continuation of a vendetta, years in the making. Approaching position, she reported, military precision entering her own voice. Ready to execute. That's my girl, Michael responded. Pride evident despite the danger, just like we trained. The plateau stretched before Sarah like a natural fortress, her 18-wheeler the only vehicle in sight. Through her specialized mirrors, she scanned the approaching mining road. Still clear, but that wouldn't last. Sarah positioned her truck according to her father's instructions, angling it to create both cover and a clear field of fire. 3 vehicles approaching from the south access road, Jenkins reported through the secure channel. 2 motorcycles, 1 modified pickup, military formation. Sarah activated her truck's defensive systems, another of her father's modifications. Reinforced panels slid into place over vulnerable components, while armored shutters deployed across her windows, leaving strategic viewing ports. Diablos advance team, Michael assessed from his concealed position. Standard reconnaissance. They'll maintain distance, evaluate our setup. Sarah checked her watch. 17 minutes since the Diablos had discovered their decoy ploy. Razor would be coordinating a major response, pulling resources from multiple areas. The satellite phone vibrated with an incoming message. Drone footage showing disturbing activity. 8 more motorcycles and 3 trucks converging from different directions, all heading toward the mining road. They're committing everything, Sarah observed, studying the footage. Not just local chapter, Michael confirmed. Razors called in allied groups from at least 2 states. Sarah's earpiece crackled with Sandman's voice. Ghost, intercepted communications indicate they've deployed advanced sniper team to ridgeline positions. A cold knot formed in Sarah's stomach. Diablos with sniper capabilities suggested more ex-military involvement than they'd anticipated. Acknowledged, Michael responded, his tone unchanged despite the escalation. Maintain position. I'll handle counter-sniper operations. Sarah knew what that meant. Her father was now hunting other snipers, entering the lethal chess game that had made him a legend in Afghanistan. The thought should have been comforting, but the escalating forces suggested Razor was committing resources far beyond a normal hijacking operation. The radio crackled again. All stations, be advised. Enemy communications reference specialized. EMP equipment, possible electronic warfare capabilities. Sarah immediately began switching her truck's systems to hardened backup mode, another precaution her father had insisted upon. Standard electronics would fail under EMP attack, but the shielded systems would maintain basic functionality. Movement on the southern ridge caught her attention, glint of metal, quickly concealed. Not her father's team. Contact South Ridgeline, she reported calmly. Single observer, approximately 800 meters. Confirmed, Michael responded. Defensive positions only. They're mapping our response capabilities. Sarah remembered her father's lessons about escalation protocols. The Diablos were following classic military doctrine. Establish observation, map defenses, probe for weaknesses, then commit main force. This wasn't random gang violence. This was coordinated tactical warfare. Through her armored viewport, Sarah spotted dust clouds rising from multiple directions. The main Diablos force was moving into position, establishing a perimeter around the plateau. Her satellite feed showed vehicles blocking all potential escape routes. They're setting a siege position. Sarah noted, recognizing the pattern from her father's tactical exercises. Standard containment formation, Michael confirmed, but they've made a critical error in their positioning. Before Sarah could ask what he meant, her truck's engine suddenly sputtered and died. The electronic warfare she'd been warned about had begun. Even her hardened systems flickered momentarily before stabilizing on backup power. All stations, electronic countermeasures deployed, Sarah reported, switching to her final communication. Backup. An old analog radio system her father had insisted on installing. Acknowledged, came Michael's voice, slightly distorted but clear. They're revealing their capabilities too early. Mistake number 1. Through her viewports, Sarah watched as the first Diablos vehicles entered the plateau's open ground. 3 motorcycles moving in tactical formation, followed by a technical truck with mounted equipment. Not a direct assault yet. They were testing for traps, deploying jamming technology to isolate her position. Movement on all approaches, Jenkins reported. Main force deploying into assault positions. Sarah checked her defensive preparations one final time, then reached for the concealed compartment beneath her seat. The custom tactical shotgun her father had given her on her 21st birthday slid into her hands, loaded with non-lethal rounds designed to disable rather than kill. Sarah, Michael's voice carried a new urgency. Thermal imaging shows something in that lead technical. They've brought specialized breaching equipment, military grade. The implications were clear. The Diablos weren't just planning to hijack her truck. They were prepared to cut through armored plating if necessary. Lasers on site, Sandman reported suddenly. Visual confirmation. He's commanding. From the second vehicle, Sarah processed this information, understanding its significance. Razor Thompson personally leading the operation meant this was about more than cargo. This was about revenge against Michael Mitchell, using his daughter as the target. The radio crackled with a new voice. Unfamiliar, cold, professional. "Mitchell, I know you're listening." Razor's voice carried the confidence of someone used to command. "You're surrounded, outgunned with no extraction route. Surrender the truck and the girl walks away." Sarah's hands remained steady on her weapon. Her father had prepared her for this moment since childhood. "Sir," she responded, deliberately using military address, "you might want to reconsider your tactical position." Razor's laugh came through the radio. "Brave like your father. But he's not here to save you." The first shots rang out, precise single rounds targeting her truck's external cameras. Sarah ducked instinctively, though the armored cab protected her completely. "Actually," Michael's voice cut through on all frequencies, "you might want to look up." The plateau erupted in precision chaos as Michael Mitchell's first shot disabled the Diablo's lead technical truck with surgical accuracy. The bullet pierced the engine block exactly where it would cause catastrophic failure without risk of explosion. The vehicle died instantly, blocking the narrow approach road and trapping the convoy behind it. "Target reduced," Michael's calm voice reported through Sarah's earpiece. "Technical neutralized." Razor's voice exploded over the radio channels, rage replacing his previous confidence. "All units advance. Take that truck now." The Diablos responded with practiced coordination, motorcycles breaking formation to approach from multiple angles, while gunners in the remaining vehicles provided covering fire. Their tactical movements confirmed Sarah's assessment. These weren't ordinary gang members, but trained operators. "Multiple targets converging," Sarah reported, tracking movement through her armored viewports. 3-point approach pattern. "Acknowledged," Michael responded. "Maintain defensive posture. Countermeasures authorized." Sarah activated her truck's first defensive system. Powerful strobing lights designed to disrupt night vision equipment and disorient approaching attackers. The effect was immediate. Several Diablos riders swerved erratically, their coordination broken by the unexpected countermeasure. Through her specialized mirrors, Sarah spotted 2 Diablos approaching her blind spot, breaching equipment in hand. She shifted her position, bringing her non-lethal shotgun to bear through a concealed port. The first rubber round struck the lead attacker in the chest, dropping him instantly. The second scattered concrete dust at the feet of his partner, forcing him to retreat. "Two tangos neutralized west approach," she reported, military terminology replacing her normal trucker vernacular. A sharp crack echoed across the plateau as Michael eliminated another threat, a sniper team attempting to establish position on the eastern ridge. The shot came from over 200 meters away, a distance that would be impossible for all but the most elite marksmen. "Enemy sniper element neutralized," Michael confirmed. Adjusting position. Sarah knew her father was already moving, never staying, in one location. After revealing his position, the technique had kept him alive through 3 tours in Afghanistan's deadliest regions. "We've got a breach attempt on your trailer," Jenkins warned through the secure channel. 2 operators, shaped charges. Sarah activated her second countermeasure, the trailer's defensive system deploying a cloud of CS gas mixed with marking dye. The painful but non-lethal deterrent sent the Diablos operatives stumbling away, their faces and hands now stained with bright blue dye that would identify them for days. Through her communication system, Sarah heard Razor coordinating a new assault pattern, redirecting his forces to concentrate on her truck's rear access point. The trailer's apparent vulnerability. "They're committing to the trailer breach," she informed her father. "Exactly as you predicted. Tactical tunnel vision," Michael noted with professional detachment. "They're ignoring their exposed flank." As if on cue, the plateau's western approach erupted in controlled chaos as Jenkins and Reaper engaged the Diablo's rear security element. The 2 former Special Forces operators moved with lethal efficiency, disabling vehicles and neutralizing threats with precision that matched their years of combat experience. "West approach secure," Reaper reported. 6 tangos neutralized, non-lethal. Weapons secured. Sarah watched the Diablos' coordinated assault disintegrate into confusion as they found themselves under attack from multiple directions. Their tactical communications filled with contradictory orders and position reports. "They're losing command and control," Sarah observed, recognizing the pattern from her father's training scenarios. Her satellite phone displayed new thermal imaging, Razor's position clearly identified as he attempted to rally his forces. The Diablo's leader had positioned himself behind the disabled technical, using it as cover while directing his remaining operators. "Razor located," Sarah reported. "Coordinates transmitted." "Received," Michael acknowledged, maintaining overwatch on primary target. A moment later, the rock wall 2 feet from Razor's position exploded in a shower of dust and fragments as Michael's round struck precisely where he intended, a demonstration shot showing exactly what could have happened to the Diablo's leader himself. Razor's response was immediate and profane, his voice carrying across multiple radio channels as he ordered his forces to fall back and regroup. The plateau grew quiet as Diablos vehicles retreated to defensive positions beyond effective engagement range. "All stations report," Michael commanded through their secure channel. "North perimeter secure," Sandman confirmed. "West approach controlled," added Reaper. "South ridge clear," Jenkins reported. "Truck systems nominal," Sarah completed the status check. "Minimal damage to external components. Cargo secure." Through her viewports, Sarah watched the Diablos establishing a new perimeter approximately 1,000 meters from her position, not retreating entirely, but regrouping for a more coordinated approach. Even from this distance, she could see Razor moving between vehicles, gesturing emphatically as he reorganized his forces. "They're calling in reinforcements," Wraith warned through the radio. "Intercepted communications indicate at least 15 additional Diablos en route from Carson City chapter. ETA 40 minutes. Sarah checked her defensive systems, everything performing as designed, but the prolonged engagement was consuming resources. "Bad assessment?" Michael's voice remained calm despite the escalating situation. They've committed their first-line operators and failed. Next assault will be heavier, less precise, more firepower, less finesse. Sarah processed this tactical evaluation, mentally reviewing contingency plans her father had drilled into her. For exactly this scenario, they still don't know what they're really facing, do they? For the first time since the engagement began, a hint of satisfaction entered Michael Mitchell's voice. No, they've just learned they're outmatched tactically. They haven't realized they're facing a complete defensive network designed specifically to counter this type of assault. Through her specialized optics, Sarah observed Razor pounding his fist against a vehicle in frustration. The Diablos leader had expected a simple hijacking operation against a female truck driver. Instead, he'd encountered a defensive system that had neutralized his first assault without a single casualty on either side. Razor's getting desperate, Sarah noted. This has become personal for him. Good, Michael replied, his tone shifting to something colder. Desperation leads to mistakes, and we're just getting started. Thunder rolled across the Nevada plateau as weather shifted suddenly, dark clouds gathering over the standoff. Sarah monitored her specialized radar, watching as Diablos reinforcements approached from multiple directions. The satellite phone displayed images from Jenkins' drone, 3 trucks and 14 motorcycles converging on their position, all heavily armed. Weather system moving in fast, Michael reported from his concealed position. Visibility dropping to approximately 600 meters with precipitation. Sarah adjusted her defensive systems accordingly. The approaching storm would complicate sniping operations, but could provide tactical advantages for closer engagements. Through her armored viewport, she watched Razor coordinating with newly arrived Diablos leaders, their hand gestures revealing growing tension within the command structure. They're arguing about approach vectors, Sarah observed, reading their body language as her father had taught her. Razor's losing control, Michael confirmed. The initial failure has undermined his authority. New chapter leaders want more aggressive tactics. Lightning flashed, briefly illuminating the expanding Diablos formation. Sarah counted over 40 figures now. Their numbers more than tripled since the first engagement. More concerning was the equipment being unloaded from the newest vehicles. Dad, they've brought heavy weapons, she reported, recognizing the distinctive shapes. 2 50-caliber mounted guns, what looks like military-grade breaching equipment. Possibly rocket-propelled grenades. Confirmed, Michael responded, his voice unchanged despite the escalation. They're bringing cartel-level firepower, transitioning from hijacking to full assault parameters. Sarah's mind processed this information through the tactical framework her father had built over years of training. The Diablos were shifting from precision to overwhelming force, a significant escalation that confirmed this was no longer about cargo. Razor wants to make an example, she concluded. This isn't about the shipment anymore, Michael agreed. This is about reputation, about sending a message to anyone who resists Diablos operations. Rain began falling, fat drops hammering against Sarah's truck as the storm intensified. Lightning revealed Diablos fighters moving into advanced positions, establishing firing locations with professional precision. All stations be advised, Sandman's voice came through their tactical channel. Enemy forces have deployed jamming equipment. Communications may be compromised. As if confirming his warning, the radio crackled. With static, Michael's next transmission cutting in and out. Sarah, repositioning and maintain. Don't! The signal died completely, leaving Sarah isolated in her armored cab. The satellite phone flickered, then failed as powerful electronic countermeasures targeted her position. Even her father's hardened. Systems struggled against military-grade jamming equipment. Through her viewports, Sarah watched the Diablos' final preparations, mapping their tactical positioning in her mind. The approaching assault would be overwhelming, designed to breach her defenses through sheer firepower and numbers. The first heavy-caliber rounds struck her truck's reinforced plating. the impacts reverberating through the cab despite the advanced shock absorption systems. The .50 caliber weapons were testing her defenses, probing for vulnerable points. Sarah activated her truck's emergency protocols, systems her father had designed for worst-case scenarios. Specialized smoke dispensers created a thick barrier around the vehicle, obscuring it from direct targeting, while thermal countermeasures confused enemy infrared sensors. Lightning illuminated the plateau again, revealing dozens of Diablos fighters, advancing through the rain in coordinated fire teams. Their movement patterns confirmed Sarah's assessment. These were trained operators executing standard military assault procedures. Without communications, Sarah followed her contingency training. Her father had prepared her for communication, blackouts, drilling precise responses for every scenario. She checked her watch, exactly 17 minutes since losing contact. According to their pre-established protocols, Michael would now be implementing their secondary defensive strategy. The sound of heavy rounds impacting her armor was suddenly joined by new explosions from the Diablo's perimeter. Through limited visibility, Sarah spotted vehicles burning at 3 different points in their formation. Her father had begun his counterattack, targeting ammunition stores and fuel tanks with precision fire from an entirely new position. The Diablo's assault faltered momentarily as fighters turned to address the unexpected threat. But Razor's voice carried over the storm, driving them forward. Sarah prepared her final defensive measures as the first breaching team reached her trailer, attaching shaped charges to the reinforced doors. Her contingency training took over. 3 switches activated in sequence, deploying the trailer's ultimate defensive system, a high-voltage electrical discharge across its entire surface. The non-lethal but incapacitating charge sent the breaching team convulsing to the ground, their weapons falling useless beside them. Lightning revealed a new threat, Razor himself approaching with 4 heavily armed fighters, carrying what appeared to be a specialized cutting torch designed for armored vehicles. Their determination was clear. They would breach her cab regardless of losses. The radio suddenly crackled to life, a momentary gap in the jamming, allowing Michael's voice to break through. Sarah, prepare for Operation Thunderbolt. 15 seconds. Sarah's heart rate steadied immediately. Operation Thunderbolt, their code for synchronized multiple target elimination. Her father had developed the technique in Afghanistan, using precisely timed shots to neutralize several threats simultaneously, creating maximum psychological impact. Securing herself in her reinforced seat, Sarah activated her truck's final countermeasure. Powerful strobe lights synchronized to emit at the exact moment her father would take his shots. The disorienting flashes would amplify the confusion when his plan executed. Through driving rain, lightning, and the chaos of battle, Sarah caught the faintest glint from a distant ridge, her father's scope reflecting a momentary flash. His position was impossible to determine precisely, but she knew he could see everything unfolding on the plateau. Razor reached her truck's cab, raising the cutting torch toward her armored door with triumphant determination. The Diablo's leader shouted something lost in the storm, his face contorted with rage and vindication. Sarah's watch counted down the final seconds to Operation Thunderbolt. 3, 2, 1. The plateau exploded in synchronized precision as 5 shots rang out simultaneously, so perfectly timed they sounded as one. Razor's cutting torch died instantly, a precision round having severed its fuel line millimeters from his hand. Around him, his 4 elite guards dropped to the ground, each neutralized by perfectly placed non-lethal shots. Before the Diablos could process what had happened, 5 more shots followed, eliminating their heavy weapons positions with surgical accuracy. The psychological effect was devastating. Invisible death striking from nowhere, unstoppable even through storm and darkness. Sarah's radio crackled back to life as the jamming equipment fell silent, destroyed by another precision shot. All stations Michael's calm voice returned. Phase 1 complete. Execute containment protocol. Lightning illuminated the plateau in strobing flashes, revealing a battlefield transformed. Disabled vehicles smoldered despite the rain, their sophisticated systems neutralized by Michael Mitchell's impossible shooting. Diablos fighters scattered for cover, their coordinated assault collapsing into chaos after Operation Thunderbolts. Devastating execution. At the center of it all, Razor Thompson knelt beside Sarah's truck, his cutting torch useless at his feet, his elite guards incapacitated around him. His face betrayed disbelief, transitioning to realization as he finally understood what he was truly facing. Ghost, he whispered, the nickname carrying both recognition and fear. Sarah activated her external speaker, her voice projecting through the storm with calm authority. You should have checked your target more carefully, Razor. Mitchell Logistics isn't just a company name. Through her viewport, Sarah watched the remaining Diablos forces retreating to defensive positions, their morale shattered by the synchronized precision of the counterattack. No ordinary hijacking target could deliver such a response. All stations. Report, Michael's voice came through their now functional communications network. North perimeter secured, Sandman confirmed. West approach controlled, 8 tangos detained, added Reaper. South ridge clear, vehicles disabled, Jenkins reported. The satellite phone displayed new thermal imaging, Diablos fighters abandoning outer positions, consolidating around their remaining operational vehicles. Their tactical discipline had dissolved, survival instincts replacing combat effectiveness. Sarah, status. Michael's voice carried the subtle concern of a father beneath his professional tone. Fully operational, she responded, maintaining the tactical protocols he'd taught her. Minor damage to external systems, cargo secure. Through the rain-streaked glass, Sarah kept her eyes on Razor. The Diablos leader remained on his knees, but his posture had changed. Calculation replacing shock as he assessed his rapidly diminishing options. You can't hold this position, Mitchell, he shouted toward the surrounding ridges, his voice barely carrying over the storm. I've still got 30 men, and you're surrounded. The response came not as words but as action. Precision shots disabled. The fuel tanks and engine blocks of the Diablo's 3 remaining operational vehicles, the synchronized impacts, creating a symphony of mechanical failure. Within seconds, their evacuation and support capabilities disappeared completely. Correction, Sarah replied through her speaker. You have 30 stranded men with no communications, no vehicles, and no operational heavy weapons. Lightning revealed new movement around the plateau's perimeter, Michael's team implementing the final phase of their defensive strategy. Former Special Forces operators moved with ghost-like efficiency, isolating and neutralizing pockets of resistance without firing a single lethal shot. The radio crackled with an unfamiliar voice, Nevada Highway Patrol. This is Captain Reynolds, approaching from Route 50. We have reports of armed conflict, multiple units responding. Law enforcement inbound, Michael informed the team. Secure all weapons, document everything. Sarah watched Razor's expression shift as he heard the transmission. The Diablo's leader's options had evaporated completely, trapped between Michael's precision capabilities and approaching state authorities. It's a day. Over, Razor, Sarah announced, finally opening her armored door and stepping into the rain, shotgun held casually but ready. Your operation is compromised, your forces neutralized, and your reputation finished. Razor's eyes narrowed, desperation warring with calculation. You have no idea what you've done. The Diablos network extends through 3 states. This isn't over? Actually, it is. The new voice came from behind Razor as Michael Mitchell materialized from the shadows, like his nickname suggested, moving with impossible silence despite the rocky terrain. The legendary Green Beret sniper appeared ordinary. At first glance, weathered face, practical clothing, unassuming stance. Only his eyes revealed the lethal precision that had made him a ghost story among America's enemies. "Hello, Razor," Michael said quietly. "Been a while since Afghanistan." "Ghost," Razor acknowledged, a complex mixture of hate and respect in his voice. "Should have known it was you. No one else shoots like that, not even in the ranges. You threatened my daughter." Michael's voice remained conversational, but Sarah recognized the deadly undertone. "That was your final mistake," Razor laughed bitterly. "What now? You going to execute me like those warlords in Kandahar?" Michael shook his head. "That's the difference between us. Always was." He gestured toward the approaching police lights, visible through the rain. "You face justice, proper justice." Sarah maintained her position, watching the remaining Diablos fighters being secured by her father's team. The entire operation had concluded without a single fatality, a testament to Michael Mitchell's planning and precision. "Dad," she said quietly, using the personal address for the first time since the conflict began, "the shipment still needs to reach Sacramento by morning." Michael nodded, professional pride evident, as he observed his daughter's continued focus. "On the mission, despite everything they'd just endured, Jenkins will coordinate with Highway Patrol for escort. Your route is secure now." As law enforcement vehicles arrived, surrounding the plateau with emergency lights, Sarah realized the full extent of what had transpired. What began as a simple gas station confrontation had escalated into a full tactical engagement that would dismantle one of the region's most dangerous criminal organizations. Captain Reynolds approached, surveying the scene with increasing amazement. Dozens of Diablos fighters secured, sophisticated weapons stockpiled, and military-grade equipment scattered across the plateau. "Mr. Mitchell," he acknowledged, recognizing Michael immediately. "Seems your reputation remains accurate." "Just protecting family, Captain," Michael responded, his hand resting briefly on Sarah's shoulder. The satellite phone displayed incoming messages, FBI notifications, DEA alerts. The intelligence gathered from Razor's operation would lead to coordinated raids across 3 states, dismantling the entire Diablos network. As the storm began to clear, Sarah checked her watch. Despite everything, her delivery remained on schedule. She turned to her father, seeing not just the legendary ghost, but the man who had prepared her for exactly this moment her entire life. "I should get back on the road," she said professionally. Michael nodded, the subtle smile that only Sarah would recognize crossing his weathered face. "That's my girl. Always completes the mission." As Sarah climbed back into her truck, preparing to continue her journey, she watched her father speaking with law enforcement, already transitioning from tactical operator to cooperative witness. The Diablos had made a catastrophic error in judgment, mistaking a female truck driver for an easy target, never realizing she was the daughter of a legend who had spent his entire retirement preparing for precisely this type of threat. The engine rumbled to life, powerful and undamaged, despite everything thrown against it. Through her mirror, Sarah caught her father's nod of approval, the same quiet acknowledgement he'd given when she'd mastered shooting, tactics, and survival skills. Some bonds, Sarah reflected as she pulled away from the plateau, couldn't be broken by any force, and some mistakes, as the Diablos had learned, were final.